Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. Now the top stories this hour. Funeral for Pope Francis set for Saturday, April 26 in front of St. Peter's Basilica. Amid mass killings, the growing insecurity, National Assembly postpones resumption to May 6, citing preparations for Workers' Day celebrations. And Burkina Faso falls, major coup attempt, alleges plotters came from Côte d'Ivoire. Details coming up shortly. Now, welcome again. We begin with updates on the death of the Pope. The Vatican has announced that Pope Francis' funeral will be held on Saturday, the 26th of April at 10 a.m. local time in front of St. Peter's Basilica. The late pontiff will be moved to the Basilica on Wednesday morning, where his body will lie in state for public viewing until the burial. The Pope, who served for 12 years, is currently laid out in a coffin at the Santa Marta residence. His decision to be buried at the Basilica of St. Mary Major rather than in the traditional Vatican crypt marks a significant break from papal tradition. Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re will lead the funeral mass, which will conclude with a final commendation. According to Vatican customs, the conclave to elect a successor will follow the funeral. And predicting the outcome, or rather, for more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us yet again. And if you'd please tell us, what are the latest updates from the Vatican City?
Well, as the funeral from the Pope has been confirmed for Saturday morning, 10 a.m. local time, that's 9 a.m. Lagos and London time. We have had more world leaders come out and saying that they will be attending. So Ursula von der Leyen will be attending, as will Sir Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister. Javier Milei, Argentina's Prime Minister, is expected to arrive in Rome on Wednesday and, of course, will be in attendance at the funeral. US President Donald Trump and his wife Melania will be attending the funeral, as will with the French President Emmanuel Macron, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and the Brazilian President Lula da Silva will be in attendance as well. Now, the Russian President Vladimir Putin said he will not be going, but that's a list so far of world leaders who will be in attendance at that funeral. Now, as you said, the Pope has elected to be buried not in the traditional St. Peter's Basilica, but Santa Maria Maggiore, that's St. Mary Major, the Basilica there. That was one of his favorite places to pray, and he will be buried there. Now, most popes are buried in the Vatican grounds. The last not to was Louis VIII in 1903. Now, St. Mary Major is about 2.5 miles from the Vatican, so we can expect some sort of funeral procession to take place during that funeral on Saturday. Now, the Pope's body has been laid out. It will be laid in state in an open coffin in St. Peter's Basilica from 8 a.m. UK time, 9 a.m. local time tomorrow. The public will be allowed in to pay their respects from 11 a.m. and the Basilica remaining open until midnight. On Thursday, mourners will have time from 7 a.m. till midnight to pay their respects, and on Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then the Basilica will close in preparation for the funeral on Saturday morning.
That's a lot of activities, and to go with that, a lot of talk about conclave. So let's talk about that. What happens now in the process of choosing the new Pope?
Yeah, let's talk about conclave. Now, the conclave can begin no sooner than 15 days, but no later than 20 days after the burial of the Pope. So the earliest it can start is around the 5th of May. Now, conclave is a very long process that basically is about the cardinals. There's 136 cardinals eligible to be part of conclave, although there's a rule in place now that 120 of them can actually take part, and they choose the new Pope. They're supposed to follow the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is supposed to guide them as to who the next Pope will be. Now, the longest conclave in history was in the mid-13th century, and that lasted nearly 3 years, 33 months. It began in 1286 and finished in 1271. The shortest conclave was only 1 day long. The cardinals chose their predecessor on the same day that they started, and that was in 1274. Now, if you're going to ask me how long this conclave will take, I don't know if it will be 33 months. I don't know if it will be 1 day. 2 to 3 weeks could potentially be the norm for them to pick the successor for Pope Francis. But like I said, it's how long is a piece of string. The cardinals tell us it's all about them following the Holy Spirit. It's this process of whittling down the cardinals, picking bits of paper. Whoever gets the least votes, they set those bits of paper on fire. You can expect to see black smoke, or you can expect to see white smoke. If you see black smoke emerging from the chimney from the round of burning paper, that means they haven't picked a Pope. If you see white smoke, that is good news. The bells will ring, and that means that they have picked a Pope.
Well, Afia, thank you very much. And of course, I do remember that there is a package that you've put together regarding the process of choosing a new Pope. So right after now, we're just going to go ahead and take that package, because we know predicting the outcome of the highly secretive papal conclave is a very notorious and difficult thing. Here's a package put together by our international correspondent, whom we've just seen, Afia Hagen.
In Vatican City, speculation is swirling over who might next lead the world's 1.3 billion Catholics. So, who are the frontrunners? Cardinal Pietro Parolin, Italy's 70-year-old Secretary of State, is seen as a moderate continuity candidate, closely aligned with Pope Francis. Parolin has handled delicate negotiations, notably with China, earning both praise as a diplomat and criticism as a pragmatist. Luis Antonio Tagle from the Philippines, age 67, could become the first Asian pope. Once considered Pope Francis's preferred successor, Tagle champions a more compassionate stance on social issues, but retains conservative views on abortion. From Ghana, 76-year-old Peter Turkson could make history as the first black pope in centuries. He's recognised for advocating action on climate change and economic justice, whilst maintaining traditional church positions, albeit with softened views on homosexuality. Hungary's Péter Erdő, at 72, represents the conservative wing. Known for strict adherence to doctrine, Erdő has openly opposed some of Pope Francis's progressive initiatives, aligning closely with nationalist ideologies. Italian Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, age 69, appointed by Pope Francis, leans progressive, notably engaging diplomatically as the Vatican peace envoy to Ukraine. He's liberal regarding social issues and committed to addressing poverty and marginalization. Portugal's José Talentino Salasa de Mendonça, aged just 59, is admired for modernizing attitudes, but may be seen as too young by fellow cardinals, wary of delaying their own chances. Mario Grech from Malta, aged 68, initially conservative, has evolved to support progressive reforms, including roles for women within the church and criticism of restrictive European migration policies. Pier Battista Pizzaballa, aged 60, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, gained international attention by offering himself as a hostage in Gaza to free children, marking him as a compassionate leader, but leaving his stance on controversial issues largely unknown. Lastly, Guinea's Robert Serra, aged 79, is a staunch traditionalist, outspoken against gender ideology and Islamic fundamentalism, and would also represent a historic choice as the first black pope in modern history. With no clear frontrunner, the conclave's decision remains uncertain, echoing the surprise election of Pope Francis himself in 2013. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagen.
Now we still have Afia Hagen here with us. Afia, I'm going to come back to you regarding, I'm so sorry, I'm being told that we've lost Afia Hagen to the connection. But if we do get her back, we'll be asking that very specific question regarding conclave. Do stay tuned. Now to security matters. President Bola Tinubu is set to meet with the nation's service chiefs and the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, following his return from a nearly 3-week stay in Paris and London. This is expected in days and comes in response to the alarming spike in killings across Plateau, Benue, Adamawa and Borno states, where about 200 people have been killed and thousands displaced since April 2nd. Despite military deployment, attacks continue. Meanwhile, the presidency has criticized state governors for underfunding local security. Despite receiving large security votes, Special Advisor Daniel Bwala questioned the effectiveness of state security spendings. Now, similarly, the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mutfwang, has convened a high-powered stakeholders meeting on security in the state to brainstorm on root causes of the recurrent killings in some parts of Plateau State for over 20 years. The stakeholders' engagement is not unconnected with the recent deadly attacks which took scores of lives in Baucus and Bassa local government area of the state within 3 weeks. To brainstorm and arrive at workable solutions to these crises in the state and former governors and security chiefs in the state, traditional rulers, civil society activists, and other critical state actors. The governor is hopeful that the meeting will be fruitful.
As governor, I know that I owe the people of the state a responsibility to work in tandem with the federal security agencies to bring about peace. And we have never rested on our oars, apart from engaging community leaders to find out their problems. We have also made kinetic provisions supporting the federal security agencies with logistics to be able to discharge their responsibility, their constitutional responsibility. But yet, we're yet to come out of the woods. Who is behind it? Where are they coming from? Who sponsored them? What is their aim? These are questions that I thought I should not ponder on alone. I thought I should gather the owners of Plateau, the leaders of Plateau. Let's rub hearts together. Let's rub minds together. For how long shall this continue?
At the time of filing this report, behind me is where the state governor, Caleb Mutfwang, the state security chiefs, and other important stakeholders in the state are having a closed-door session. Everyone on the plateau is hoping that at the end of this session, there will be measures put in place to ensure that these killings come to an end. In Plateau State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyowe.
Still talking security, the National Assembly has postponed its resumption to May 6, citing preparations for Workers' Day celebrations. Lawmakers were initially set to reconvene on April 29 following the Easter and Eid holidays. This extension comes as security concerns escalate nationwide, with killings and unrest reported in Benue, Borno, and Plateau states. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Political Science Association has urged political leaders to prioritize national security over 2027 election ambitions. NPSA President Professor Hassan Saliu blames exclusionary politics for fueling insecurity, warning that foreign investors are deterred by the instability. He criticized the government's long-standing efforts as inadequate, stressing that insecurity has become a way of life for many Nigerians. Now, for more on this, we're joined by Global Affairs Analyst Eji Kelpa, who is in Dallas, Texas, and Darlington Umoru, a security expert here in Lagos. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Thank you very much. Now, Ejike, let me come to you first. The conversation is becoming overwhelming when it comes to security in the nation. To think how much is being budgeted for the security and the results that we're getting. What are the real issues, do you think, Mr. Okwa?
Yeah, thank you for having me. And my heart and prayers goes out to the families, who have lost a loved one because of this incessant, unnecessary killings, by who knows what, the people killing people in Nigeria are not ghosts. It's either they are Nigerians or people who take advantage of the weak and the loose security infrastructure in the country. So, the government has to do something. They have the military obviously haven't been able to deliver, and then of course the police is not well equipped, with the resources they need to do this job. But the other question that I have is, the security votes that all these governors get, has anybody ever asked them what do they use that money for? Maybe it's time to stop those security votes and deploy that resource to actually doing the security work. Because, you hear this thing, this is not new, from the time Jonathan was there to present, how many years is there? 10 years. How many Nigerians have died because of a lousy, what I consider insensitive attitude of the leadership. When these things happen, that the president is overseas on working, whatever they call it, working on vacation, or you have people like Danjuma who comes in and says people should defend themselves. Defend themselves with what? So they make some of these, careless statements, and it doesn't go to give the Nigerian the confidence to live a peaceful life within their own country, within their own community. They talk about the foreign investors. The foreign investors are not coming to Nigeria. Encourage Nigerians to even invest in their own community or their own country, but they won't do that if fear is a big factor in their daily lives. You can't even leave your house, 6 p.m. to go anywhere because you are afraid. So it's a shame, and this calls on every well-meaning Nigerian to rally for this. If it is tribal issue, deal with it. If it's the Fulani, herdsmen that are doing this work, this Fulani herdsmen, take them on. And how do you take them on is go to their leadership or those people encouraging them and say, enough is enough. If he's moving the cattle from one point to the other, start their ranching business. You don't have to have the cattle and men, trek for miles and miles, going from one region to the other, destroying farmlands. Designate areas and let them take those cattle to that place and let them nurture it and slaughter it and sell it. At the end of the day, what are they looking for? Money. Okay. Then you buy the cattle from them and encourage them to stop killing people. If they kill, you kill them. Okay, sometimes a tooth for tat is what makes some people back away. The Fulani should not hold Nigerians to ransom. They shouldn't. And Nigeria should rise and say enough of this nonsense.
Okay, Mr. Okwa. I also have Darlington here with us. Mr. Omari, thank you very much for joining us. So let's talk about the specific nature of these attacks. Right now, we've heard the outburst of General T.Y. Danjuma and how the killings seem to be concentrated in the North Central. Now, do you want to talk to the nature of these concentrations here in the North Central? It sounds like geo-targeting, or is there any other way you'd look at it?
Well, the problem in the North Central that has to do with the header farmer crisis has been there over time. It's deep-rooted. My challenge is that governments coming in and going have not really been able to, find a lasting solution to the killings. The challenge they have is that I think the matter is beginning to get bigger and bigger each time you have a political arrangement. And so I think more of politics is being played. Is in the Mati Allah now or whatever they call themselves.
I think we might have lost Mr. Mori there. Yeah. Ejike Okwa, you're still with us, so I'll come back to you with our final question here. Now, the president will meet with the service chiefs. And after that, what do you think we should expect?
again, the president has to, own the stuff. Every buck starts with a hammer. He has to show that he is actually in charge of Nigeria, and not the way he escapes out of Nigeria, comes back and stays behind the podium and makes some statement, and oftentimes you don't even understand what he's saying. He should go to Plateau State. He should sit down with them. I don't even think, wow, this is going on, he has showed up. He talks to them from Abuja. It's declare a state of emergency. You declare the state of emergency in River State and replace the civil, democratically elected. Go over there, go to Plateau State, go to the North Central areas, and have a dialogue with these people and tell them, this is tiring. You are tired of this, and you're going to bring the federal might, to the solution. Oftentimes, you have to show that you are in charge. But so far, Tinubu has not shown he's in charge of Nigeria. Whether he's benefiting from this crisis, because that somebody's benefiting from the fact that insecurity is pervasive in Nigeria, and Tinubu hasn't shown the concern that you want from a leader or a head of state who actually believes in the country that he has the rights to govern. So far, if I were to give him a score, I'll give him a score of less enough F, if not even H, like horrible. But again, the Nigerians also have to take responsibility. You have to be very observant and conscious of things around you that may lead you to a crime, because crime is something, law enforcement reacts, except if they have good intelligence and they are able to do what prevent it. But so far, everybody's afraid. Everybody has this siege mentality, and that's not what is good for the most populous black nation in the world. I don't care how Nigerians want to cover it up. The world sees this because technology has made it an instant view. People knows what is going on, and so the Nigerians can't pretend anymore. They can't be in denial. They have to own this stuff. They have to accept that the leadership hasn't been favorable to them. Their life is in shambles. And it doesn't matter, no economy will grow when security is a big challenge. I don't care whether every Nigerian has $1 million and an oil well to their benefit. Nobody, that country is stagnating. So home and abroad, if you love Nigeria, you care for Nigeria, because life is being wasted. I mean, who deserve to die because some herdsmen or cattlemen decide they're going to have to come in there and take over? Nobody wants to. We're not in the, what they call the Stone Age or the Dark Ages. This is the 21st century. And Nigerians, with all this, your excellencies, what is excellent about your excellency? With all these doctors and doctorates, and then Nigeria is sick and sickened. We need to back away from all these titles and get busy and get practical in addressing the issues that confront the average Nigerian. And I'm hoping, before 2027 comes around, that Tinubu would have scored himself to know whether he's still going to be a good candidate to be voted for. If not, Nigerians should rally against him and make sure he's the one to get the first term, because he hasn't shown them that he is actually in charge.
Mr. Ejike, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon with your expert advice. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. The families of late Love Shimite, the special advisor of Sheriff Obovori, governor of Delta State, on trade and export, has blamed her husband for her death. We'll bring you more on this after this short break. Do stay tuned. Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Appeal. On the top stories this hour. Funeral for Pope Francis set for Saturday, April 26 in front of St. Peter's Basilica. Amid mass killings, the growing insecurity, National Assembly postpones resumption to May 6, citing preparations for Workers' Day celebrations. And Burkina Faso falls, major coup attempt, alleges plotters came from Côte d'Ivoire. Details coming up shortly. Now, the family of late Love Shimite, the special advisor of Sheriff Obovori, governor of Delta State on trade and export, has blamed her husband for her death. Shimite died in the early hours of Monday. The police spokesperson in Delta, Bright Adafi, said the deceased husband called the police to report that his wife fell ill and died on Monday morning. Adafi said Shimite's husband informed the police that his wife's family members are allegedly threatening his life for being responsible for her death. The deceased family had lodged a complaint with the police alleging that the husband might have played a role in Shimite's death. However, the Delta police spokesperson said the domestic violence allegations are mere social media propaganda, but assured that an autopsy would be conducted to ascertain the actual cause of the deceased's death. And 5 people have been killed and 13 others injured in a lone truck crash in Biliri-Gombe Road in Gombe State on Easter Monday. The FRSC confirmed that the accident occurred around 7:20 a.m. in Tashangona, involving 18 people, 8 men and 10 women. The truck, loaded with grains, struck pedestrians returning from Easter prayers. Speed violation was identified as the cause. Tensions rose in Biliri as residents set the truck ablaze and nearly lynched the driver before police intervened. Leather workers at the tannery, Kofa Wambai, Kano State, historically known for their hides and skin processing factory, have expressed worries over the lack of technology to produce footwear, bags, clothes, and other hide and skin products in Nigeria. Speaking to News Central's crew in Kano State, they say that despite the industry producing hides for foreign designers and luxury brands, they're still denied of government patronage. News Central's Emmanuel Bogudu has more inside this report.
This is Majima Tannery, a famous local hide and skin processing hub in Kano. Here, one can find skins of all kinds of domestic and wild animals being processed and made ready for export. Workers here, mainly artisans with informal education, possess a full knowledge of the products and their values. This is the skin of a python. It was caught and the flesh removed and the skin brought here to be processed into different colors. This is a crocodile skin. To be used for manufacturing bags, belts, and many other things like handles of wristwatches. The younger workers here say that the threat and its benefits have brought immense relief to their parents.
Wannan aikin gaskiya mutuka yana taimakon mu, wanda idan mun fito babu wanda zai ce in ya fito baya samun abin da zai kashe, har ya ci a jikinsa, har ya wa kansa sutura, har ya taimaka wa iyayensa. Babu abin da zamu ce da wannan aikin sai dai godiya. Shugabannin mu na ciki ma su ma babu abin da zamu ce da su sai dai godiya. Alhamdulillah.
Muna taimako da wannan aikin, muna sha, kuma muna kaiwa gida, muna taimaka musu, kuma muna yi wa kanmu hidima, muna yi wa kanmu dinke-dinke iri-iri. In biki ya zo mu sauya kaya mai komai, muna taimako, sai dai ba abin da mu ce da wannan aikin sai godiya.
Alhamdulillah.
Allah ya taimaki wanda suke ba mu aiki, Allah ya taimake su. Allah ya ƙara musu ƙwarin gwiwa.
So it's prayer all through for stakeholders who are supporting this business, and the young lads here are hoping that this will sustain to continue to help people like them take care of their problems, take care of family problems, and of course, enjoy their living as, hardworking Nigerians. Though the industry seems to be thriving in Nigeria with hides and skin products exported to Morocco, Italy, Turkey, the United States, and other countries, many here are unhappy that these exported products are imported back into Nigeria as finished leather products and sold to citizens at exorbitant prices.
You know, there are people that buy this processed skin from Nigeria, take it to their country. You know, it's not their skin, but they change the color and start calling it that name because they do a lot of work on it after buying it from us. Then they start calling it Moroccan leather. Any kind of work without government support may not thrive. If the government invests in this our business, just the way it does to other sectors, we will thrive. We are not privileged like those companies that come to buy and fly abroad.
Nigeria leather, kamar da ka tambaye ni, fatan Nigeria ita ce fatar da za a iya amfani da ita front and back.
The skin of animals from Nigeria are the skin that can be used front and back.
Ya sai dai ka amfani da wajen gashinta.
There are animal skins whose back cannot be used except the hairy part. That's the sweat. That is why we call our animal skins Moroccan leather. I'm sure you've heard about that before.
Kaman fatar Kano, Katsina, Kaduna, Sokoto, northern Nigeria. Whenever
they come to buy our animal skins, because it's valuable front and back, like skins from Kaduna, Katsina, Sokoto. Northern Nigeria, because our weather is unique, because our animals enjoy favorable weather, and that makes their skin better. The money our government spends on buying shoes of security personnel is huge. We have a lot of people that know how to make these shoes here in Nigeria. If they are well trained and government has to spend 1 billion to import shoes, then it will not spend more than 100 million and will also create jobs.
Many at this tannery are optimistic that one day their sweat and toil will pay off.
You see the skin? We turn it different colors. Here also, there's a skin we call simperi. That is sold to traditional entertainers to use it to make drums.
A very huge economic potential has been showcased here at Coup Majema in Kano. And of course, the clarion call here is for the Nigerian government to put hands together with the Kano state government to bring in technology, relevant technology that will help them process these products instead of taking them out abroad and later being brought back as shoes and bags and of course belts to be sold at exorbitant prices for Nigerians. Here in Coup Kano, for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
Now, Benue residents say that poor road infrastructure and also persistent insecurity are crippling their businesses and reducing their income. Now, News Central's Sagir Ibrahim is live in Katsina Ala, a local government area of Benue State, and will be talking to us more on this. Sagir, thank you very much for joining us. Please, would you tell us about the situation in Katsina Ala, Benue State?
So it's quite of a challenge indeed it is. We're here in Katsina Ala. This is a popular roundabout called Takum Junction. The road behind me you're seeing leads straight to Wukari, to Zakibiam, to different other locations, including Ukuman local government, which was attacked very recently. This is actually one of the parks in these areas that loads, commuters, business persons, and those individuals who would like to travel through this axis, into these locations to do business for whatever reason. We noticed from when we got into the town that it takes quite a while for the vehicles to load, and quite a number of issues were given. However, you'll be hearing from the horse's mouth, as I have with me Cosmos. He is one of the excos here at this park. He will be speaking to us as to the reasons why they've been experiencing a reduction in the number of commuters, travelers, and business people around this area. Good afternoon, Mr. Cosmos.
You are welcome.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm Cosmos Tedo again.
Okay. What's your designation?
My destination is here in Katsina Ala. Sorry.
All right. Okay, so Cosmos, talk to us about the reduce in the number of passengers that you have in this location.
As I earlier said.
Oh, you never know. Go on.
Yes. Hello.
Go on.
As I earlier said, the reduce of the reduce of our passengers in this our community is due to insecurity. Okay. Yes, because the bandits here are too much. We are in interior area. People in our interior area now, they find it very difficult to come out to do whatsoever they want to do because of the bandits. The killing is too much. The killing is too much. So the passengers are now finding it difficult to find out to carry products in their villages to come inside the town and sell. That is one of the most important problems we are having now.
So at the moment, you also spoke about the quality of the road. Can you also speak to us about
And the quality of the road is also poor, because we are lacking roads here. The road is very, very poor, that we cannot even manage our cars. Like from here to Zakiban, you can find out that the road is very, very bad. You can find out some bad potholes that even the commercial drivers are finding it very difficult to use their cars, because if you go one trip, you are coming back to repair your car because of the potholes. You can find out that the shocks are weak. All these things are very bad, so you can find it very difficult. That is another second problem we are facing in this Katsina local government.
Okay, Mr. Cosmos, can you talk to us about some of your demands, especially those to the government at this
Yes, our major demand here is the first demand we are demanding is the government should look into our major problem, the insecurity. That is our first demand. Second, they should repair our roads so that we can be able to access good roads, so that we can travel out and do everything we want to do, even in our interior area.
All right. Mr. Cosmos, thank you very much. There you have it, Mazino, from the horse's mouth. You have heard the issues, you've heard the developments. Of course, you recall that just a few days ago, there was a major attack in Logo local government and also Ukum local government, very close to this place. In fact, I hear it's just an hour, drive from these areas. So this culminates into some of the issues that, of course, these residents, this driver, and of course many others are echoing out: the need for security and also the need for infrastructure for them to carry out their daily businesses. Back to you in the studio, Mazino.
Well, thank you very much, Sage Ibrahim, our correspondent there in Katsina Ala, Benue State. We'll bring you more on that as he continues to follow development. Coming up, more than 500,000 women and children in danger of starvation as food shortages set to hit Ethiopia. We'll tell you more after the break. Join us again. Welcome back. Burkina Faso's military government has said it's foiled a major plot to overthrow junta leader Ibrahim Traoré last week. Now, Security Minister Mahamadou Sana alleged that the plotters were based in neighbouring Côte d'Ivoire. Sana said the attempt was led by current and former soldiers working with terrorist leaders who planned to sow chaos and place the country under the supervision of an international organization. Sana also said the plotters attempted to use Burkinabe religion and traditional leaders to sway army officials into backing the plan. The World Food Programme has announced the suspension of aid for 660,000 malnourished women and children in Ethiopia due to a lack of funding. The UN agency warned on Tuesday that 3.6 million people in Ethiopia overall are at risk of losing access to food aid in the coming weeks unless new financial support can be urgently sourced. The agency said it had planned to reach 2 million mothers and children with life-saving nutrition assistance in 2025, but will fall short due to a predicted funding shortfall of $222 million between April and September. As the world is mourning Pope Francis, who died on Easter Monday, aged 88, from a cerebral stroke and subsequent heart failure, cardinals are meeting to plan the pontiff's funeral, which will be held on Saturday. Meanwhile, from South Africa, the Pope is being remembered as a man who advocated for Africa, peace and humanity across the globe. Our correspondent, Bongani Sisiba, visited the Cathedral of Christ the King Church in Johannesburg and filed in this report.
As you can see the picture of the Pope, a great man and a man who was a spiritual leader, not only for the Catholics, but also for the world. And as you can see across the continent, leaders have also expressed their condolences, with the South African president, that is Cyril Ramaphosa, also expressing his condolence and releasing a statement about stating that Pope Francis was a man, an extraordinary person with a story that advanced fundamental human rights. He also noted Pope's unwavering commitment, making both the church and the world a better place for all and for humanity. But also, as we all know, that Pope Francis was known for advocating for inclusion, equality, and care of the marginalized, and also is taking a very strong stance on environmental issues. But let me just bring in those that knew him best, the members of the Catholic community who are here, just to share their deep sense of loss.
This is what he dedicated his life, for, longing and working for the kingdom of God. He's a much celebrated man because of his social justice, his care for the marginalized, especially refugees, care for all people who find themselves under oppression. He held the people of Palestine very dear in his heart, we know. He called the parish in Palestine, in Gaza, every week, even when he was in a hospital.
I think we're really very, very hurt and devastated, but by the grace of God, God shall give us the strength and the power to go on.
From the church, let me take you to the streets of Johannesburg just to speak to individuals on how they knew Pope Francis and their fondest memories.
I didn't know much about Pope Francis, but I used to see him on television, and what I know a little bit about him is just that he's the man who was advocating for peace and humanity in the whole world.
We are very saddened as the whole Africa and also the whole of the world.
As you have heard, it's not only those from the Roman Catholic who knew Pope. We know that in the streets we have just heard that Pope Francis was someone who spoke for Africa. We also know that the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, referred to him as a tireless champion of the poor, with many African leaders also sending in their messages of condolences. The Pope also visited several African nations during his purpose, including South Sudan, Central African Republic, and Lesotho, emphasizing the continent's struggles and aspirations. And for many, Pope Francis leaves behind a profound global legacy that will be remembered not just by Catholics, but by people from all walks of life. From the streets of Johannesburg for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Beg your pardon. Now, the U.S. Department, apologies. Now, the U.S. Department of Education will resume involuntary debt collection on defaulted federal student loans beginning May 5, ending a pandemic-era suspension. More than 5 million borrowers are currently in default, a status triggered after 270 days without payment. As collections restart, the government will reinstate the Treasury Offset Program, which recovers unpaid debt by withholding tax refunds and federal benefits. Wage garnishments will also begin later in the summer for borrowers who remain in default. The move follows the collapse of previous student debt relief efforts, including the blocked SAVE repayment plan proposed during the Biden administration. And at least 12 people were killed and 34 others wounded in U.S. airstrikes on Yemen's capital, Sana'a, early on Monday, according to Houthi officials. The Houthi-run Sabah news agency said the strikes hit a market and residential area in the Fawar district. Additional air raids were reported late Sunday in the central province of Narib, the western city of Hodeidah, and Sa'ada in the north, a key Houthi stronghold. In response, Houthi military spokesperson Yahya Saree claimed the group launched attacks on 2 U.S. aircraft carriers on Israel. The U.S. military has been carrying out nearly daily strikes for the past month, targeting what it calls Iran-backed Houthi terrorists to stop attacks on international shipping in the Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. Business now. Nigeria is historically dependent on oil for revenue. Now, it faces new economic headwinds as U.S. tariffs target non-oil exports, despite U.S. goods exports to Nigeria surging to $4.2 billion in 2024. Economist Dr. Adeshewa Erediawa, a senior research fellow, International Economic Relations Division, Nigeria Institute of International Affairs, stated that while the U.S. is a global trade leader and a partner to Nigerian trade, with Nigeria makes up only 0.3% of U.S. total trades, with top partners being Canada, Japan, and others.
The top two global traders, import-exporters in the world, U.S., China. U.S. is the top importer. China is the top exporter. So in relation to Nigeria, the U.S. is one of Nigeria's top trading partners. However, if you flip that, you see that Nigeria is not a top trading partner for the U.S. So if you want to look at the U.S. overall trade, the total trade of the U.S. is about 0.3%. Nigeria accounts for just 0.3% of the U.S.'s total trade. Its top partners are Canada, Mexico, Japan, Germany, China, of course, and all of those.
Sports now. Nigerian long jump star S.A. Brume will begin her 2025 season at the 115th Drake Relays in Des Moines, Iowa. The event marks her return to competition following a car crash in December 2024 that left her with a sprained ankle and strained neck. Brume resumed light training in March and is now ready to compete in a high-caliber field that includes Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis-Woodhull and Tokyo Olympian Quenecia Brooks. This will be her first appearance since finishing 5th at the 2024 Paris Olympics. Brume is one of Nigeria's most decorated athletes with multiple Commonwealth and African titles, and she holds the African long jump record for 7.17 meters set in 2021. And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take a look at some of the major stories brought your way. Now, funeral for Pope Francis is set for Saturday, 26th April 2025 in front of St. Peter's Basilica. And the Nigerian National Assembly postpones resumption to May 6, citing preparations for Workers' Day celebrations. And we also told you that paramilitary shelling of El Fasher in Sudan's Darfur region has killed over 30 civilians and injured dozens more. Remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp numbers on your screens now. And do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.